So how's everyone doing so far in terms of the content? Can you see the value of it? Can you see yourself actually using this stuff and actually going out there? And even based just on what we've covered so far, which is not really a huge amount yet, by the way. This is really we've dug underneath the ground and we've set the foundations on which the house will be built. No house has existed yet, right? But with this alone, can you really see yourself going home and making a living as a hypnotherapist, right? Yeah. Believe it or not, right now, this moment, you know more about having a successful hypnotherapy business than probably about, I'd say, 95% of hypnotherapists out there. Maybe even 99%, I don't know. Do you see where I'm going with this? There's a lot more to come with this, but this is the foundation. And I hope you feel good about what you have here. And more importantly, about your ability to use it. Yes? So let's have a look at the map over here. We have Johnny's hut. He's seen the guru, and he's given him a little bit of advice. Where did Johnny go? First thing. The marshes. Why does Johnny have to go through the marshes? Any ideas? To find out what? He's got to find out who his customers could be. He doesn't know, right? He has no concept of what is in the village, and the only way to get there is through the marshes, to go through that. Then once he gets through the marshes, what did he discover? The village, right? In the village, he gets a profile, gets a sense of what each individual in the village is doing, what their lifestyle is like, what they dislike, who they hang out with, what they say, how they say, and so on. And only then, when he's done all that effort, all that setup, does he find out about the farmers' markets, which is where they go to hang out, which is where he can start finding them. Depending on what your specialty is, you may decide that some of the stuff that Joe was talking about, some of those things on the list, will be more appropriate to you, right? A gym, if you're doing pain control, a gym may or may not be as appropriate to you as, say, a doctor's office, and so on. Do you see what we're going with this? So what happens next? Johnny travels across the mountain and meets the farmers, doesn't he? Right? Do you now know how to talk to those farmers? Do you have a good sense of how to have that conversation? Yes? Raise your hand up if you do. Yeah. Right. Excellent. Good. What is the whole point of talking to those farmers? Go ahead. Referrals. Close. He's saying referrals. Why is he trying to talk to farmers in the first place? To get access to the villages. Exactly. He needs the farmers to let him do a song and dance in the farmers market, so that the villagers, who are going to be his ultimate clients, get to see, oh yeah, I like what he does, right? It's all about access right now. So you're building up your foundations to get access to the clients that you want. And notice, right now you've not paid a penny, other than possibly for renting an office, if that's how you negotiated it. So the whole point of what Johnny's doing here, is he needs to get access to the villagers who's going to be his clients. And all this effort is put up front is to get to that one place. Now he's here. Now he's going to do his song and dance. What have you learned from this that needs to be in his song and dance at some point? A lecture demo. What has to be in that lecture demo? There must be an offer at the end, absolutely. But there must be an experience. If he sits there and talks to them about how beautiful the paintings are and how nice they'll be when they're on the stage, and they'll look at them and they'll really like it, and would you like to have a picture right now and just follow me back to my place? Are they likely to do, is he likely to do anything with that? No? Why do people talk this way, by the way? Any ideas? Fear. And why are they afraid? Any ideas? Because they think the person they need to be in order to be accepted by this crowd is someone other than who they are. And so they try and be the person they're not. And in doing that, they're worse than who they were in the first place. And now they've got nowhere to go. They're much better off just accepting who they are and deciding, well, they're going to be my clients or not. They're going to find out who I am one way or the other. So instead of worrying about it, let's just make sure the people who are going to hate me get upset enough early on enough that they leave and I get to enjoy myself with the rest of them. Right? Wouldn't that be worthwhile? So he's there and he's doing his song and dance. He needs to give them an experience that gives them faith that he has something. So he draws little caricatures. It's a little taste of what's to come, isn't it? What's the equivalent in a hypnosis business? Any ideas? Say again? A magic moment. Those of you who've trained with me before know with magic moments are right. What else might be? You haven't trained with me yet, so you haven't had that sense. Hence, those who've trained with me before. Go ahead. Instant induction, yes. He comes in, he goes, sleep. They go, and they go, oh. Isn't that the kind of process that is usually happening and that sort of thing, right? What else could he do? Demonstrations, right? Stick someone's hand to a chair, a hand levitation, maybe cure a phobia live in front of them, and they'll go, oh my God, this is real. I sat next to that person. I know them. I've seen them freak out whenever chocolate bars hit the window screen. They can now go through the Hershey drive-thru and be fine. Right? Isn't that powerful? Or they could give them an experience. Put them all in trance and they go, oh, this is so good. I want more. That's right, you do. Come to my office for $100, you get more. Right? So he's there and doing his song and dance, and he realizes there's no road. What do you think the road represents? What happened? What happened when there was no road? He did his song and dance. People got excited. They followed him out of the farmyard. What happened next? And remember that?
The farmers had to work to get to his place.
Well, the villagers would have to work to get it to his place. They had to get their feet dirty wading through the river, right? Did they do it? That's why most hypnotherapists fail. They expect the client to do all the work, to figure out for themselves why they want a hypnotherapist, to figure out how to get to a hypnotherapist, to figure out that this is good for them. And so the people ask about it and they go, well, it's obvious, isn't it? No, it's not. Is this making sense to you guys? Did you have a quick question in the back there?
I just had a comment that I thought was it's our job to make it easier.
Thank you. Let me just repeat that for everyone. It is our job to make it easy for clients to A, find us, and B, come to us. Both. We must make it easy, because if there's no road for them to come, they will not come. Very few will persevere enough to work their way through the wilderness to you. And that's why most hypnotherapists are earning only around about $15,000 a year, which is not enough to live on for most people. Right? So what do you think the road represents? Website is close. It's getting in the right direction. Say again? Access. Think about it this way. What is the most important thing a client needs to have before they can trust you? A relationship, right?
Yes.
Then it's easy. They know you're the right person. All their concerns, all their fears, all the doubts have been eroded over time because they know you, they trust you, they've seen testimonials, they've seen stories, they've heard about you, they've seen you. The relationship is there now, right?
So could we call that the relationship road?
You can call that the relationship road, yes. That is the relationship road on which you build campaigns. The simplest way of doing a campaign is through emails. We'll teach you how to do that, but right now just take that as a simple idea. The simplest way of building a campaign is through emails. Now, what do you write in those emails? Any ideas?
Anything that gives value.
Anything that gives value or asks for value in return. You must give before you can receive, of course, right? So a real simple tip on this one is what I would call a fascinating fact. A fascinating fact will be of one of two kinds. One is just a fascinating fact about hypnosis. How many of you knew that Charles Dickens was a hypnotist? Right? You read our email, didn't you? Were you surprised by that when you read the email, yes? Did you enjoy the email, right? Was it valuable to you? Did it make you want to read the next one just in case something else cropped up like that? So a fascinating fact about hypnosis gets people to trust you and like you and go, whoa, there's something else there. Another type of fascinating fact is about the problem or the niche that you've decided to be in. If it is, if it's 20-something-year-old women who are about to get married in 3 months' time, right? You're talking an email about hypnosis and weddings, about wedding anxiety and overcoming it. Do you see how that fits what they're looking for? It's a fascinating fact about the perfect wedding. It may not even be about hypnosis, but they're going like, I like this person. He understands me. Or she understands me. Do you see where we're going with this? So your relationship road, I like the way you labeled that, is about building campaigns, and those campaigns about offering fascinating facts and asking for something in return eventually. Make sense? What do you do next? Once he started that road going, he started some paintings going, gets a little bit of cash going and so on, what happened next? Anyone remember? Say again? He didn't quite go to the fair. He wasn't quite with the princess yet. Go ahead.
The velvet rope.
The velvet rope. Do you all remember that? Why did he build the velvet rope? What was the point of that? So he could get the clients to come all at one time. Would you like to get an experience of why this is important? Will that be useful to you guys? Could you please put your notes away for a moment? And if you have some paper left over from earlier, please get a fresh piece of paper out. If not, put your hand up and Robin will come around, or James can go around and hand some more paper out. So, as we did before, if this is your piece of paper, right here, what's the first thing that happens in our little story? Johnny builds a hut, doesn't he? That's right. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. He builds a hut. Where does he go next? Anyone? The marshes. So draw your marshes. Everyone got that? Now, please, if you've already drawn it from before, please draw this again. There is a purpose for this. So even if you've done it once, please start again from scratch this time. And if you need paper, we have plenty of paper for you guys. We'll happily kill some trees. So what happens after the marshes? Where did he go? The village. And in the village, he gets a little profile of what the clients or the villagers all look like, right? That's when he discovers that over the mountains and over the hills, you have these little farmers' huts. No one is exciting that, as I know, but hey, I failed art school, what can I say? Right? You have these little farmers' markets where people are doing stuff, where his clients are going to, correct? He then discovers, of course, that in order to get these people to come here, he needs to build a road. And the road has to go to each of the different farmers' markets to make it easy, correct? Let me know when you've all done that much. The road is only to where he lives, the hut. They've got to get the people from farmer's market back to his place of business, right? That's really the only thing of interest to him, correct? This is the relationship road right here. He builds it, and bit by bit, they follow him all the way back to the hut, back to his office, right? Simple so far, correct? Then something interesting happens. Let's do it this way. All of you, can you please get a different coin other than the pennies you have, like a different coin or something that you can use to represent Johnny? Actually, you can use the pennies for now if you want as well. Where does Johnny begin? He begins right here at the home, right? So please start off at the home. James, could you hand out one of these dice to just give a couple of dice to each table for now, and we'll just make sure everyone gets one by the end of the day. Okay? So he starts off at the house. Where does he want to go to first? The marshes, right? So go ahead and place move your Johnny through into the marshes, right? So he's not in the village yet, he's in the marshes, right? He hasn't gone to the village yet, he's now right here in the middle of the marshes, in the thick of things. How does he work his way through the marshes, everyone? He needs 20 points on market research, right? So how does he get to roll the die? What does he need to do? He needs to give me one market research behavior, correct? Right? So, who would like to keep score on this one? Hands up quickly. You want to keep score? Okay, off you go. Who would like to roll the die on this one? Quickly, hands up. You'll do it. Off you go. Grab that die. All right, so, before we can roll the die, we need one behavior for market research. Someone give me something, quickly. Facebook, what specifically? So looking up something to do with hypnosis on Facebook, what specifically are you going to go and type into Facebook on your search page?
Hypnosis in your local area.
So you're going to type the words hypnosis, followed by whatever local area is, which in this case was Orange County, it might have been London, it might have been whatever, right? Information comes up, you're allowed to roll the die, off you go. I am not going to casino with you. You get 1 point. It's all good. It all makes up in the long run, right? So we need to roll again, don't we? 1 point is not enough to get out of the marshes, right? So someone else, quickly give me something. Say again?
YouTube.
What are you going to do with YouTube?
Finding videos with hypnosis.
So he's going to find or look for videos with hypnosis and maybe watch them, find out how many people are watching them and so on. Is that a specific behavior? Yes? Will you learn something from that? Yes? You get to roll the dice again. Oh, he's got to hold 2. I mean, definitely not gambling with you. Unless you want to gamble against you.
You have to hold on
on.
Yeah, results can vary. You can go up as well as down. So how many points do we have right now? Are we even close to finished yet? No. This seems like we're in for the long haul, right? So go ahead. Demographics. What specifically are you going to do to get demographics?
Alpha site and find out what the population.
So he's going to go to the Wolfram Alpha site, which is in your resources, I believe. And you're going to type in your local area to find out what the population size is. You get a sense of how many people you've got to work with there, correct? Yes? And you get their ages, maybe this little split of like how old different people are and what they're doing and so on. Great. That allows us to get a what kind of number? Yeah, as if. 4. You see, now I'm beginning to be on your side. That's the list. We're getting closer. Now, how much time have we spent here so far? It's starting to get a little, well, we're getting involved a little bit here, aren't we? Right? If each roll of the die represents 1 day, how many days have we spent doing market research? We spent 3 days market research, right? And an extra 4th day being maybe building the hut or something like that. So 3 days, no income yet. Ooh. What do you need to do to continue? Are we going to give up yet? Who wants to give up? Anyone? Glad to hear it. What do you need to do to continue? Another behavior for market research. Someone give me something quickly. Google. Specifically, what are you going to do with Google?
Google Local looking for other.
So she's going to go to Google Local and type in hypnotherapist for her local area. So hypnotherapist plus her local area. And find out what results come up, right? Is that a specific behavior? Yes? You get to roll the die again. Oh, we love you now. It's a 5. He's getting now. He's going to learn the ropes, I think. What number are we on? We're on 12. Are we out of the marshes yet? Got to keep working at it, right? Let's carry on. Quickly, someone else, something. Go ahead. Yo,
Yes.
thank you so much. I think we should get a standing ovation just for that, and I'll show you what it is in a minute. Very good.
Very nice, very nice.
Would like to know what she said? I bet you do. Pay her, and I think she might tell you. You start calling the people on the list of people that you found out, the hypnotherapist. Find out what they've got to say for themselves. How do they handle themselves? Could you? Thank you. How do they handle themselves? What do they do? What do they think about? How they feel, right? You get more information. Is that worth a roll of the die? Yes. I think that's worth 2. Off you go. 6. Oh, baby. You just breeze through. One more. One more. Do that again. And oh, you've redeemed yourself. I am so gambling with you now. That's another 6. 6 and 6. So we have a grand total of 24 points. Folks, have we got through the market? Yes. Did we have a slow start? Yes. Did we care? No. You did. Your feet got wet, right? And it just shows you, I'll come to you in a second, Mame. It just shows that this whole process takes some time sometimes, right? Some of you will just go right in the middle of it and go, this is great. Some of you will have a slow start. Suck it up. Persevere. Keep going. That's just the nature of the way that business works. Could you have a microphone handy, please?
We've been focusing on hypnotherapy in the area and things like that. Wouldn't it be as effective to also look at the traditional type therapies?
100%. 100%. You are right on the money there. And if we were to spend more time in the marshes, that's exactly where we want to go, right? So, but having said that, this is very important. Why do you think there's only 20 points that you need to make before you go to leave the marsage? Any idea?
You can't just sit around reading all the time. You
right.
take action. Because
there's some people who sit there for years before they feel ready. And if you're not ready after 20 experience point, and you can come back to your market research again any time, by the way. If you don't feel ready yet, I will guarantee you, you never will. There will never be a perfect time for this. It will never happen. You just do it, you'll make your mistakes, it's not ideal, but you'll force the world to change around you enough to give you that chance. The only thing I don't recommend you do is to go in blindly with no market research, with no efforts, no planning, nothing, right? So thank you for that. So, are we out of the marshes? Yes? Yeah. What happens next? He needs to create a USP, doesn't he? He needs to get a client empathy map to get a sense of what he's going to offer, right? For now, you can just look at your little empathy map and go, yep, we've got it, check. Everyone look at your empathy map? Yep. Some of you going yes without even looking? Are you like psychically transferring your mind in? physically look at the map, there is something that occurs when you make the physical effort that is of importance here. So now you know you have that map, you have a sense of the things you discussed earlier on and so on. You've got a profile that you can work with, albeit you may change the profile for another work when you actually start doing this properly, correct? What happens next? He goes to the farmers, right? Now here's where it gets interesting. I'd like for you to draw about 6 farmers' huts to represent 6 different places you can go to a lecture demo to ask them about that, right? Now, of course, there are many more than 6 on the list that we talked about. So in any particular town, you've got dozens, if not hundreds, of places you can go to, right? So we'll just represent that with 6 for now. We're going to approach each different farmer's market, and we're going to talk to the owner to find out if they'll accept us, right? Correct? So here's what we're going to do. One of you will give me a reason why I, as an owner, should let you, as a hypnotist or a painter in this case, I guess, why I should let you come and talk to my people, right? So give me a reason why I should let you talk to my people. Go ahead.
Say you are a physical therapist.
I'm a physical therapist. Go on.
So, your job is to fix their injury.
Can we have the mics ready here? Because I think this is going to be good stuff. I can already feel it. There's a 6-figure income waiting right here, I think.
So this is an example for a sports physical therapist.
Yep.
You're the therapist.
I'm the therapist.
Now, your job is to fix the injury. My job is to fix the pain to get the person back in the game.
Isn't that beautiful? Can you see the perfect marriage? I'm going like, yeah, I can work with that, right? So here's what's going to happen. Now that we're going to have your 6 farmers markets, you're going to earn the right to see whether or not they're even interested. Sometimes the best pitch in the world will not work just because there's a closed mind. Sometimes the worst pitch in the world will work great because they're just ridiculously happy to see you, right? Sometimes you have to work for it as well. So here's how we're going to work it to make sure that it fits reality a little bit. You're going to roll the die again. Only this time, before we roll it, to earn the right to roll the die, you have to give me a reason, and that'll be one of the markets, right? If you roll an odd number, well, then the owner will think you're a bit odd and will say no out of principle. If you roll an even number, he'll think you're being straight with him and he'll accept you, let you do your thing. Let's find out what the Lady Luck does for us. Go ahead and roll this. Oh, he gets a 6. This is so good. So one farmer's market, please put a tick on it. That one is now wide open to you. You can now go and start your business. But it's only 1 out of 6, right? It's not enough to just start with 1. You have to keep going, right? So someone else give me a reason for why I should let you come in. Can we have a mic over here, please?
So say you are a doctor.
I'm a doctor, great.
Doctor. I can help you be more successful in treating your patients by treating the emotional and mental symptoms along with pain and other things.
Beautiful. Can you see the correlation there? Yes? It's a wonderful idea. So let's find out whether the fickle finger of fate likes that.
Come on, fickle finger.
Denied! Though I like it. But isn't that what happens in life? You have a great idea, and for some reason it just wasn't the right time or right whatever, right? There is that element of luck that we talked about. So take one of your farmer's huts, put a cross next to it. You cannot use this one for a while. Another one. We've got 4 more to go. Quickly. Go ahead.
You're a trade association,
I'm a trade association.
and your membership will get a discount.
My membership will get a discount. Easy one, right? Off you go. They like it. 4. We now have 2, and this is getting shorter by the minute. That's interesting. Okay, so now we have 2 saying yes, 1 saying no. Quickly, someone else. Over here in the back, just shout it out. Go ahead, just shout it out.
Say you're a tattoo artist.
I'm a tattoo artist.
You could hypnotize people so you can numb the area.
Great. So I'm the tattoo artist. He'll come in and show and numb the area for the clients so that they don't feel any pain whilst getting tattoo. Let's find out if they like this. Beautiful. They love it. It's a 4, right? Yeah, get excited. I like it. Let's a little time out here. How long have we spent here so far? It's been over a week, hasn't it? Right? Getting close to 2 weeks now, roughly? Would that be fair to say? How much money have you made so far? How many clients have you seen so far? What's up with that? Why do you have instant success? Because you've got to lay your foundations, don't you? Isn't that how it works? You've done a lot of work. It's not paid off yet, but it's starting to pay off. Who here feels, despite the fact that you've actually had no results yet in terms of actual financial results, who still feels confident because stuff is happening and it's worthwhile? Anyone? That's how business works. That's why you need to have some kind of money to keep you going during the startup phase, right? So another quick answer, another quick reason. Go ahead, over here, Jess.
You're a university administrator.
I'm a university administrator.
And I can help your students decrease test anxiety.
Great, and she can help my students decrease test anxiety. Fantastic, right? I'm up for that. Let's find out whether the god of chance likes it too. He loves it. You get a 6 on that one, which normally gets you a bonus. So, one last one, quickly, over here. I'm a doctor. Help me keep my patients healthy. How? By stopping them smoking. Doctors are notoriously incapable to stop people smoking, largely because patches, gum, and the drugs really don't work all that well, right? So we now actually, you guys are rock because you've now got 5 people said yes. Shorter? No, well, never mind. 5 people said yes, 1 person said no, and you've pretty much lucked out. On average, 3 will say yes, 3 will say no, because it's kind of on the luck side of things, but that's okay, right? Now you go to your lecture demo. You go to the first one here, find out how many people will come home with you, or back to your office. Naughty young man. Oh, boy. So you need to give them something of value, right? What will you show them, teach them, demonstrate to them, or let them experience so that they get excited by hypnosis? Quickly, anyone, something. Go ahead. A phobia cure. He'll come up with a demo, someone's got a phobia, it's over, they're all going like, wow, let's see how many people are amazed. Roll the die, please. 1 person loves that. Just keep a track of that 1 person for now, would you? Is he making bazillion dollars yet? No, but he's on his way, right? Okay, let's find out the next place, the second one. Give me something else that you'll teach them, show them, demonstrate them, let them experience, or let them take home. Go ahead.
He'll bring a binder.
Bring a binder. With some articles that prove how hypnosis is helpful. Now, thinking about once they said yes to you, so that I love the binder, now in front of a group of people, what will I teach them? What will I do in front of them to demonstrate hypnosis? What will they get to experience for themselves or take home from that experience so they get impressed by hypnosis? Do you understand what I mean by that? This is now the lecture demo part rather than getting to the lecture demo. So you're actually correct about the setup here. An instant induction, did I hear you call that out? Love it. That's always dramatic, isn't it? And pretty easy to do too. So go ahead, find out how many people love that one. 1! You should not delegate it to... Okay, so we have 2 people. Now, quickly, someone else. You're getting used to this? Go ahead. Group hypnosis. So you trance everyone out, they bliss out, they love you. What better time to suggest they come to you for therapy? Let's see if they like it. 2 people love that, so you just doubled your income, right? All right, let's find out again. Let's a little time out. How are we doing so far, folks? 4 people? How much time have we spent? We're on week 2, getting closer to the end of week 2, maybe coming close to week 3. We still haven't done that much yet. Is this a lot of effort going on here? Would it be worthwhile figuring out a way of easing the effort so we don't have to work like crazy like this? Wouldn't that be worth your while? That is what the velvet ropes are all about. You can feel right now, whilst this is all worthwhile and you could make yourself into a very successful hypnotherapist running a successful business doing that, there's an awful lot of running around right now, isn't there? What is missing? Any ideas? The way to build the relationships, but there's one word missing from that. A system. Easily. Systems make things easy. Now, setting the system up in the first place is not always easy, because you have to learn about the system and how to use the tool. But the time I put in now to learn the tool is worth it in the long run, because I don't have to keep doing this song and dance over and over and over again for 1 or 2 little clients. When you have a system in place, you get to roll 2 dice. You double your time up, or more. Do you see the value of the idea of systemizing things? So the velvet rope that comes in here, you may as well just draw them in quickly, right? And it's over here all the way to the hut. The idea of this velvet rope is to create systems that automate what you're doing so you can spend more of your time doing other things than the repetitive task of repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again. Do you get where I'm going with this? Imagine this. Imagine you had 1,000 potential clients on your list, which is a pretty nice number to have, right? And let's say you have to write them all a letter. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to write down 1,000 letters by hand. How long will that take? Yeah, some of you are already like, oh my God, don't make me do this one, please. Right? What would you do to make it a smarter choice? You use a template. You'll write the letter out in a word processor and then just change the name for each person, right? It's a lot quicker. Or you could write the letter out in a word processor, then hire a company to put the names and addresses and lick the stamps and put the labels on and send them all out. Even better, right? What are those things if not systems? So we would like to have a simple introduction, an overview into the simple systems that, going by the 80-20 rules, will have the least amount of effort involved in learning them and will give you the greatest benefit, at least initially, when you get going, in terms of taking these painful tasks out of your life. Who would like to have those? Right? Would like to take them through some of the systems?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So who has an email address here? All right. Who knows how to send email? All right, you have all the skills you need to use the autoresponder system. That's all you need to know how to do. You have to have an email address and know how to send email. We're going to add one tiny little thing to automate the entire system for you, and that's you're going to write your emails beforehand, and then you're going to tell the autoresponder what days and time you want to send your emails out. Pretty easy thing to add, right? Just a little bit of timing. Easy? Okay. So let me just draw you up a diagram. I'm going to go through an autoresponder on paper. And in your resource guide that you guys will be getting, in particular, one autoresponder that I recommend is called Aweber, and it's really good. I give you a complete list of every single step you're going to need to take. So don't worry too much about, oh, you know, should I choose this autoresponder versus that one? Most of them are equally good. If you decide you like, there's other ones called like Eye Contact, Sendpepper. There's all sorts of ones. So again, do your market research. See what's out there. See what's going to fit for your business. The only one I wouldn't recommend, again, for most people is Infusionsoft. They call it Confusionsoft for a reason. It is very hard to use.
Just to put things in perspective, though, when you reach a certain size in your business, it becomes worth learning it.
Completely.
So it's not just a bad system. It's a great system. It's just, it's not a starter system. Right. In our experience, and we've tried a lot of different systems, in particular Cliff, he's pretty much tried a whole range of them. Hands down, the easiest, the simplest, and the most reliable has been Aweber. Doesn't mean others can't be any good, but the one we would recommend, because there's really no reason not to, is Aweber. It's simple, it's easy, it's reliable, and really, for the beginning standard, which is kind of where we are right now, it is, in my opinion, the industry standard, and I'm guessing it's the same for you.
Pretty much. It's actually between Eye Contact and Aweber, so both are equally pretty much as good. I'm going to go through autoresponders in general, so this will apply to pretty much every autoresponder you're going to find out there. So, autoresponders in general. Let's imagine that this box here contains your list. So you guys said you all have an email, and you probably got an email to join us here in the Bahamas. Somewhere on some computer server somewhere, your name and your email is listed here in a list sort of in cyberspace. I can't believe I said that word. That's really old. And in order to send out, you know, an email to all these hundreds, thousands, however many you have on this list, we're going to just set up a campaign. And in order to do that, it's as simple as writing an email. So let's just imagine that this is an email. We've got a subject. We've got a body. And right here, like I told you, we have some timing. And this is really all you need. Just move this for a second. Yes, timing. I'm going to explain that right now. So when I want to send an email out to the list, I have two options with an autoresponder. I can send an email directly, so that timing is going to be now, whenever, as soon as possible, as soon as I hit go. And that's just like email, right? It's pretty easy. You guys already know how to do that. The only difference with an autoresponder is that you can set up a campaign, a list of, or a chain is a better word for it, a chain of emails that's going to be sent out to a list automatically for you. So that building that relationship becomes the responsibility of the autoresponder instead of you having to sit there and type out an email to each and every person and remember to type that email out to each and every person. So in order to do that, you would type in a subject, type in a body, and type in a time. So when someone joins your list, which we'll talk about in a minute, you can start sending them emails right away. But if you add in a timing, let's say on day 1, and you'd put 1 day here, I want them to get this email. Then 3 days later, you'd put day 4, I want them to get this email. So the autoresponder will automatically send out these emails on a nice predetermined timeline that you put in. It's as simple as that. Nothing extra that you're going to need to work on for the chain of emails. I recommend usually for a nice autoresponder list, you have both the time and you build a good relationship, to start building value first. So I call these value emails. I do at least 3 value emails before I'll start sending an offer email. And this is where you're asking for something in return. And again, this is the subject of these emails. So they can be, these value emails. What do you guys think, based on our game here, building that relationship road, what would be a good thing to put in a value email like this? Anybody?
Fascinating fact.
Fascinating fact, right?
So what kind of fascinating fact might fit an email? Lots of F's there, I think.
A list of celebrities that have used hypnosis.
So if you send a list of celebrities that have used hypnosis, maybe a little bit of information like, Celine Dion learned to sing, or maybe not, right? Depending if you like that. But then it becomes fascinating to go, oh, wow, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? So what are the chances that they want to read the next one, and the next one, and the next one after that? Do you see where the thinking goes in here, right? Sorry, carry on.
That's all right. So we're missing a little bit of a piece of this puzzle right here. How do we get people onto this list? And with autoresponders, there's 2 main ways to get people onto your list. One is, and I hope you guys can see this down here, one is your website. And oftentimes, Igor's website is actually really, really good at this. You'll see a form that says put in your name and your email, click submit, and you'll probably get, with Igor, it's a bunch of free hypnosis products. And for you guys, it can be whatever freebie, remember we were talking about those, whatever freebie you can decide to offer to someone as an ethical bribe to get their name and email, and it'll go directly into this list. Once they're on this list, this autoresponder sequence that you've set up will automatically kick off for that person based on the time and day that they've come into your list. Does that make sense? Yes. Good. And once they go through that sequence, you can do all sorts of things with them. So before I begin with what else you can do with your list, let's get to the other main way that you can actually get names onto your list. Because of a lot of spam problems that we have on, in email, a lot of these companies, especially the ones that you can outsource to, like Aweber, have what's called a double opt-in policy, where you actually have to send the person an email. They have to click a link that says, yes, I actually do want to receive emails from this person. And then they're allowed to be added to your list, and you can start emailing them so they don't have to keep clicking links, and you'll keep going. That's where that ethical bribe comes in, which is a really great way to say, if you want my stuff, you're going to have to click that link, and then I'll send you the email. You don't just want to send them, you know, all your free stuff without them having to confirm that they're on your list. So the other way to get on that list is offline stuff. Whenever I do seminars or presentations offline, we talked about this before. Go ahead and go in the back of the room, sign your name and email, and I'll send you a free gift. That way, I then have to go home and input, like, you know, either type it in, or sometimes I'll use like an iPad that people can just type their names in for me because I'm lazy. And people will then get the emails that I send them based on a list that I can just simply upload to Aweber, for instance. And as I said before, in your resource pack, every one of these steps will be outlined in detail so you'll know exactly how to do this. Once you have people getting into your list from your website, from lists that you generate offline, and you're starting to send them emails, what happens here after you've made an offer? What happens here after your chain of emails has ended? What do you think might be useful? Anybody? What was that?
A new chain.
A new chain. Good. So in many autoresponder systems, you can say that, you know, maybe these 5 people are on this list. They can get there from the website. They can get there from, you know, offline lists, whatever you guys, however you're getting them into that list. And there's all sorts of interesting things you can do. With an autoresponder, you can say, after this offer email, which is the end of this particular chain, send these people that were here into a new list that maybe have a different value chain, a different offer for them. There's other things you can do with your list. You can actually segment your list. And that's simply, you might be sending a different version of value or offers to a particular portion of your list. And why do you think that, guys? Why do you guys think that might be valuable?
Targeted to an audience.
Targeted to an audience, perfect.
You've got 2 different niches you work with.
You might have 2 different niches you work with. Those are both great things. So, and it can tell you which one of your offers is in value is more effective, right? So by segmenting your list, if I take this list, and the simplest way is to do it like in half, and there are plenty of ways you can slice and dice your lists. The more information, the more market research, the more information you're allowed to hold in this list, the better you'll be able to segment. You can hold just about any number of types of information. The most common ones are obviously name and email address, but maybe you want to only send to Yahoo subscribers because you know that Yahoo subscribers, you know, in particular, have certain interests over Gmail subscribers. Or maybe you have a corporate email list and you only want to send to people at a particular law firm. There's all sorts of ways you can slice and dice the list, but the simplest way is just to do it in half randomly. And then you can send different versions of an offer or even a particular chain or a particular email to each version of this list. And oftentimes, and I'm simplifying this on purpose, the Aweber software or whatever autoresponder software you have will then give you statistics about, oh, well, this offer to this half of the list was 12% more effective. So you know for next time, oh, a lot of people really like this type of fascinating fact, this type of offer. A lot of people clicked on these things. And you'll hear a lot of terms like click-through rate. You'll hear conversion rate. You'll hear all sorts of terms, and they're simply metrics of engagement of, are people opening your emails? Are people looking at them? Are people responding to you? Are people clicking on links that you're putting in there? So autoresponders as a whole will save you a ton of time. It's going to require a little bit of work to set up, right?
Should we have a quick recap in terms of what we're doing? The concept of this is straightforward, right? Mm-hmm. What I'd like to do before we just carry on very quickly is just to simplify this right down to the very basics, the essence of what's going on here, and then you can really elaborate it with it until really the cows come home, until your mind explodes with possibilities, right? So the first thing you got to think about is, how are you going to get the email addresses to use an autoresponder, right? And essentially there's 2 things. What are those 2 things? Quickly? Freebie. You offer a freebie, whether it's offline or online, but basically those are the 2 ones, aren't they? They either type their email address online, they find some box on the online, something in the interweb magical place. They go, oh, there's a box, I'll put my email in and see what comes out, right? Or they give it to you live and in person, they'll hand you a business card. Or you have one of those bowls where the business cards get dropped in. Or you have a simple piece of paper where they write the email address out. Or you get high tech and they get to write on an iPad or type it into a thing. But physically, they are physically present giving it to you. Or they're virtually present doing it online. Does that make sense to you guys? Those are really the only two ways, unless you can think of a third one. They spiritually transmit it to you and you then type it in. I don't know, right? Very quickly, go ahead.
Could you use, like when you're doing your market research and you're going to their website, if it has their email address?
So this is a great...
You have some type of introductory...
So the question here is, if you go do your market research, you find someone's email address, can then you use that email address to then, do some kind of introductory offer? The answer is yes and no. The problem is, when you ever send someone an email that they haven't asked for or expected, it's essentially spam, which is very unwelcome and policed, is getting increasingly policed now over the internet. A lot of people are now sending offers saying, like, look, there's something that you may want to have. If you want it, that's great. If not, I'll never contact you again. That's one of these gray areas that some people think is terrible to do and some people think it's okay to do. My personal preference, that's how we work, and I think that's pretty much how you do it as well, is we don't do anything like that at all. Our engine for getting interest is either a good website that they come across and go, yes, I like this, or a good lecture demo. They go, yes, I like this, I want more, and they will give it, they will volunteer it first, and then the whole process of building a relationship will begin. Can it be done? Sure, but you're going to a gray area. Some people will hate you for it. Some people will think it's okay. It's a very gray area. Does that help? So essentially, the way we would recommend, there's only two ways to get an email. They'll type it in themselves online in return for whatever freebie, or they'll give it to you physically on a thing. Once the email goes in, it's in the system. It's somewhere in this list. You got to decide, what does this email mean, right? You got to decide, who are you talking to? If you have more than one niche, you go to talk to the police department, you may decide, I'm talking to 10 police departments a month and 10 hospitals a month. You may then decide, hey, you know what? Why don't we take all the policemen and send them one set of emails that are of more value to police officers, and then we'll send another set of emails to all the people in hospital that are much more appropriate to people in hospital. That makes sense, doesn't it? Because you don't speak to all your friends the same way. Have you ever seen those group emails that people send once a year and say, sorry for sending you a group email, but here's what happened in my entire life? You've seen those, right? And then some of those things you go, yeah, this is pretty cool. And the rest is like, what? Why should I wade through all this stuff for the 4 paragraphs or the 2 paragraphs that actually is where we relate to each other? If human beings, if real normal people were to use autoresponders, all they would do is decide, here is the list of family members, here's the list of business colleagues, here's a list of people I just met randomly on tour, and they would send 3 different emails to each different list, because it's appropriate. The tour people talk about funny holidays. The family people, they'll talk about, the birth of a new baby and whatnot. And the business people, the office people, they'll talk about, business success and wishing them well wishes and stuff like that, right? This makes real sense in terms of just a straightforward approach. That's all this stuff does. You can get as complex or as simple as you want. My recommendation is, anyone's mind a little dizzy right now from all this stuff? Put your hands up if it is. This is great, you're in the right place. Here's my recommendation for you right now, right? You start with just one list. Everyone gets the same treatment the first time round. They all get the same emails in the same sequence, and as soon as you plug their email into the system, whether they type it or you type it, the same chain starts, right? That's all you think about. Now, after a while, you'll want to do something more with them, but you can think about that after you've done that first step. Does that make sense to everyone? Those of you who are a little confused and a little bit dizzy with this whole thing, does that make things a little bit easier for you now? Who's breathing a bit of a sigh of relief at this point? Right? Good. So remember, we're showing you the potential, which is where the confusion sets in, or the dizziness, or the overwhelm. And once we take it back to constraints and then what the simple next step is, then it becomes doable again. And you'll go between the two, and you'll slowly grow, and that's how your business evolves and so on. Right? Is this thing useful for you guys? Do you all understand? We'll come to you guys in a second. Can we have the mic ready? Do you all understand the value of an autoresponder just as a principle? Yes? It's actually very simple to do this simple process. The more you want to play around with lists and so on, the more involved it becomes. But that's something you can grow into if that seems a little challenging to you right now. Just get used to using it. Start using it. And as you start using it, you'll go, what else can I do with this stuff? It builds itself a little bit, right? So we had some questions over here. Do you want to put your hand up and we'll get a mic over to you?
Can people tell if it's like a forward email and that other contacts are on it? Because I know when I get forwards.
Yeah. So an autoresponder is not the same thing as a forward email.
Okay.
So what most people do is they send group emails and everyone's email is put in there.
Yeah.
What this does, it sends an individual email to each person, and it'll do lots of different things. Number one, it'll send it to just that email. Number two, it'll put their name in the top. So you'll have dear, and it'll have little square brackets and some symbols in it. And where those symbols are, the machine will automatically put in John, Mary, Phil, and so on. So it personalizes it.
Perfect.
So,
I was just curious because
yeah.
I hate forward. You see the little forward button.
Yeah,
and
we
then
hate
all
that
the
stuff.
little things.
That's for beyond amateurs. Those are like the people the amateurs look down on, right? And then right next to you.
Yes, I just had a question. I recently created an ebook to send out as my free giveaway. And,
Great.
And then I put an offer on the end of the ebook for for a very discounted price. So I'm wondering if I should take that offer off of there.
No, I think it's fine. It depends. As long as, experiment with it. Send some people the one with, some without. See what happens.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, thanks.
There's nothing wrong with what you've done. What we're giving you is a simple process, a simple method, just so that you can start. There are infinite variations on this particular idea. And I don't want to blow your mind with all those infinite variations. I'd rather have you starting. So please don't think that anything we say here is the only way to do it. It's just, as a default, if you can't think of anything better to do it this way. And if you happen to be doing something that has a variation in it, try it out. Or try both ways out and see which one you like more. Does that help? Do you understand this idea now? It's a little simple? Yes? Get online, just get an account. I think it's free, or it's like $10 a month or something really cheap until you have a certain size of a list. It's an excellent value. And just start getting used to it straight away. There's lots of YouTube videos that'll teach you how to use this. They'll have lots of tutorial videos as well. So it'll walk you through the process step by step. We just want you to get used to the idea so you know what it is, what it does, a little bit of how to use it, and enough to be inspired to go out there and learn how to use it properly so that your business can start being automatic. Does that make sense, everyone? Have we achieved that aim to this point? Yes? Yes. Great. Did you want to add something to that, or should we move to the next thing quickly?
You added personalization, and that was the last thing.
Okay. So, yeah, thank you. So we have this system here, and why does it get shorter for me?
I don't know. I'll check.
It's the Bahamas thing, right? Don't worry, we'll do it during the break. Sliding. I'm on my knees and going like, okay, so we're down here. Or is it me? Am I growing taller? Is my growth hypnosis working right now? So we have this process, and you can do a complex version, elaborate version, or a simple version of this. You understand the idea of this, right? What I'd like to talk about a little bit is, what do you do with these individual emails? Because that would be useful to think about, wouldn't it? So you have a sense of what you're doing there? I would recommend to you, let's put it this way. If you want to build a relationship with someone, let's say you go out on meetings with them, right? Where do you build the best relationships? When you meet them once, 3 times, 5 times, or 10 times? Any ideas? 10 times. As a rule, the more contact you have, the better the relationship is, correct? And the same is true here. What is the whole point of these campaigns? What's the point of it? Why do you bother with it? It's to build a relationship, correct? So the rule of thumb is, the more points of contact you have, the better. In other words, the more emails you send, the better, right? If you meet someone on Monday and on Tuesday and on Wednesday and on Thursday, the whole process goes a little faster, right? Now, depending on the nature of those meetings, meeting once a day may be appropriate or may be a bit too much, right? You won't know. Overall, you won't know. As a rule, I would recommend, and I think hopefully you'll agree, feel free to disagree if you don't, I'd recommend you email at least once a week, at least, minimum. That is absolute minimum. That's if you're being lazy and don't really care about these people. And I'd say I think we pretty much mail people once every single day, sometimes even twice a day, right? Depending on what kind of things are going on right now. It may not be appropriate. I'd say at least once a day, once a week. I think 3 to 5 times a week is actually very appropriate. And if you want to go full 7, well, it's just the nature of the relationship you build. Does that make sense to you guys? What is your preference?
I do, well, it depends on the type of clients, but anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week.
See, magic number. And we didn't even rehearse this, right? Can we have a mic over here, and then we'll come over to you in a second?
Do you stagger the days that you do it? Or, so like if you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday each week, do you think that becomes too much of a routine to where they're going to...
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
Hold that thought, right? I'll come back specifically to the idea of routine in a minute.
Okay.
Can we have it over here as well, this gentleman in the black shirt?
That was actually half of my question. But
Okay.
the other half is there a set standard or rule of thumb when you go from being building your credibility and authority to becoming annoying?
Oh, the answer is you want to become annoying. If you're not becoming annoying, you're not in business. You want people to unsubscribe from your list. And the reason I say this is because if no one's unsubscribing, then you're not bugging them enough. You're not building a relationship. You want people to go like, you know what? This person, I'm either going to be in a relationship with them or not. You don't want to go like, yeah, you know, I'll dangle a little bit around here, you know, maybe I'll play the field a bit and stuff, right? So you want people to decide, yes, I want a relationship with this person, or no, I do not. So losing people from your list is actually not a bad thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, or have you found any rule of thumb about where it should be? Or
this is kind of what we're talking about here. Are you going to email 3 times a week, 5 times a week, 7 times a week? 3 to 5 is the simple, I'd say it would be the standard you're aiming for. The gold standard would be 3 to 5 times a week. We email 7 times a week, sometimes more. That just tells you what we do, right? You'll have to experiment, play with it. There's different philosophies. People will agree and disagree on this. So I'm not going to give you a hard and fast rule because it doesn't exist. I'd recommend if you are stuck, if this is really a problem for you and you really don't know how often to email, I'd say email at least 3 times or up to 5 times a week. Right? Start with 3 times, maybe work your way up, then work your way down again if you need to. And that gives you a simple way to process. Does that make sense? Do you get a sense of how often you should email per week? Yes? So then, go ahead.
Let me make a quick analogy. How many of you guys have friends that you rarely see? Right? How long does it take to rebuild and catch up with that relationship? Pretty quick? Usually, in my experience, it takes a while to catch up with that person, right?
Because you're getting all the facts caught up again, and you're saying, oh, I did this, and oh, and then I did that, oh, yeah, I did this, right? And there's not the rapport. It's the idea of how long does it take to catch up with them in terms of sharing news and finding out what have you done, what have I done, and so on, right?
So that's a person that you have a good relationship with for a while, and then maybe you don't see them for a while, and you've emailed them. So how many of you also have possibly another acquaintance that maybe you haven't seen since like high school, and they come into town? How hard is it to rebuild that relationship again? Yeah, you may have had it in the past, but it becomes a lot harder to do that, right? So you're not seeing somebody every week, for instance, right? Just think about this as a relationship you would in the real world. If you're not seeing someone, if you're not updating them on what's going on, it's a lot harder to rebuild that rapport with them. Yeah, it's a little easier than a complete stranger, but in some cases it might not be. Maybe they're the annoying friend that, you know, every year is the only time that they send you an email, maybe on your birthday or something like that, and you're like, oh God, I don't even want to hear from that person anymore. And they'll unsubscribe from your list. You haven't built up a good relationship with them. So, you know, to our point of 3 to 5 times a week, you're just keeping that relationship alive to the point where, yeah, you might annoy some people and they won't be your friends anymore.
But if that's going to happen, it'll happen anyway.
Yeah.
If they're going to leave, they're not going to go and buy a hypnotherapy service first and then leave. It just wasn't if a person like that exists, they are so rare, don't even bother thinking about them, because if they happen, it's just one of those weird blips in life. Does that make sense to you guys? Right? So you get the idea of why we want, I would recommend start with 3, work up to 5, come back down if you want to. Minimum is once a week. If you're emailing once a month, you have no business.
Your
right?
list will be dead. They won't.
You'll
remember
kill,
you.
right? You may as well, it's the equivalent of, you have a baby, you go home at night, you strangle it, it's dead, it's over. I apologize for the heavy metaphor, but that's what you're doing to your business if you're not emailing your list. That is exactly what you're doing to it. And they will come back, and you come back after a month or 2 months and send another email and go, who is this person, right? I've had this happen to me. I've had people email me, sometimes 6 months after whatever thing we had. I don't even remember who they are anymore. I send them an irate email saying, why are you spamming me? And then I get all apologies. Like, I'm not spamming. We met here. And I go, oh, yeah, okay. Well, how's it going, right? They have no concept of what they're doing. There's no relationship being built there because all they're doing is they're sending an email when they want me to buy something. But that's like saying, like, yeah, we met in a bar, 2 years ago in Seattle. Do you want to have some sex now? It's a shock. It doesn't work. Did you see where we're going with this? Right? So we have a quick question in the back here.
Well, I just got a question. You're saying 3 emails a week. I mean, they're not the same emails.
We'll
There's
come
a
on to
lot.
that. Yes.
I've got, I've signed up for different things.
The idea of
There's
routine.
one guy, for 2 years, I've gotten the same.
Yeah.
As soon as you see the subject line, it's the same stuff.
It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll come on to right away. I just want to set the idea of the trend right now, right? So yeah, keep that in mind. It's kind of the same question as over here. Very quickly, can we have the mic over here?
You might be about to cover it, but what's the ratio of those 3 to 5 a week of give?
We'll come back to that, sure. Right now, we just think about how often, and we'll start going into content as we progress a little bit, okay? So we're going to start off with 3 emails a week, maybe work up to 5, maybe stick on 3. Depends on how comfortable you feel with this sort of stuff, right? How often do you email them per campaign, per set routine, shall we say? Well, the longer the better. I'd recommend, again, at the very least 3 times. And I'd recommend probably around 7 to 10 times as a good campaign. And the reason for this, by the way, is each email you send increases the likelihood that the next one will work, even though they don't respond to that one. Does that make sense? Yeah? So I'd say 3 emails, and over the total of that particular campaign, I'd say 7 to 10. That's a good, solid system right there. When you're writing letters, it's a little more expensive. I used to write 3 to 5 letters, physical letters. Emails are a little bit more relaxed and so on, so 7 to 10 emails I think is very appropriate per campaign. And then once that campaign's over, a new campaign begins, and a new one, and a new one. You see how that continues to go. Make sense? Yeah? Do you want to add anything to that, or is that pretty good?
It's good.
You all clear on this? Quick question over here, and we'll come back over there very quickly.
So you're not saying that you're going to email 52 weeks a year, 3 times a week. You're saying you run a campaign, give it a rest, run a campaign, give it a rest?
Oh, no, I will email them 52 weeks a year. It's just, it's not the same campaign each time. Okay. I'm not emailing about the same idea for a whole year. That gets tedious. That's what we'll come on to in a moment. Absolutely. You will email them every single week for the entire year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that, until one of 2 things occurs. Either they die, or they unsubscribe.
Or you die.
No, my emails will keep going long after I'm dead. Yeah. It's the campaign that changes, the message that changes. That's what keeps things novel. Let me put it this way to you. Does anyone here like going to cinema, watch movies? Right? Do you go to cinema once and then decide never to go back again? No, you just don't watch the same movie again necessarily, unless you really like it and you'll come back to the same movie. There are people who, is anyone here who will watch a movie like once a month, once a week, relatively frequently? Right? 1 or 2 people here? Excellent, right? Not the same movie, just different movie. At least once a month you'll go to the movies, just a nice night out, or some people go once a week, right? You don't go to the same movie every time, right? Sometimes you like it, so you'll go twice, but usually you'll go to a different movie each time, but you will regularly go to the movies. You have that relationship with that experience. Does that make sense? So the campaign will change, the theme and messages will change, but the relationship is built forever, for life. Over here? Is that done? Thank you. So is this useful so far? Are these useful distinctions? Yes? So now we know how often and for how long to run a campaign. Is that correct? And of course, after this campaign, you can start a second campaign, and a third campaign, and a fourth campaign. And this gets you through week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the relationship. Please do not overload on this. Start with 1 campaign, and then build another one and another one. Whilst one is running, you have time now to start building a second one and a third one. This is where you're constantly tinkering with your business, and whenever you have some spare time, you write a couple of emails. Does that make sense there? Right? Now, there's a couple of you who've asked a very important question, and that is, you know, when people get a little bit bored with the same routine, you know, on Monday you get an email saying, oh, look, surprise, surprise. Another client sent me this wonderful report of how well they're doing. Tuesday rocks around and go, oh, look, surprise, surprise. Did you know this celebrity is using hypnosis? Thursday, you know, Wednesday rocks around and you go, oh, surprise, surprise. I can help you with hypnosis. Come to my stop smoking practice. And every single week, you may change like the little details. It might be a different celebrity or a different person you've helped, but it's the same thing. Who here thinks that would be a recipe for sheer delight? So like, oh, wow, can't wait for the next email to come around again. Oh, look, it's just like last Monday, just a different name. Right? It's boring, isn't it? So eventually, you'll get something called list fatigue. The message stops being interesting, and they'll go, oh, shut up now, and they'll unsubscribe. It's the equivalent of that friend who just can't stop talking about the same thing over and over and over. You know those people where you have the same conversation and you wish they would just shut up or get on with it or get to something else? It's not the topic that's a problem. It's that they literally have the same conversation and make the same point, probably in the same order over and over again. It's not the most exciting conversation, is it? So emails are the same. You want to switch them up overall. You want to switch them up. If you want to switch up the days, that's actually a good thing, although if you stick on the days, you know, Monday, Thursday, Wednesday, and so on, that's okay too. But mixing up the days can be very useful. What is absolutely essential, however, is that you mix up the content. You mix up what you're doing in it. So we'd like to have a couple of heuristics, a couple of rules of thumbs on what to put in an email. Would that be useful to you guys? Yes? Heuristic number one, rule of thumb number one. Keep the emails short. They want to be able to scan through the email and capture the essence of it in a few seconds, right? As a rule of normal, like letter-sized paragraphs, maybe 2 paragraphs at best. Those 2 paragraphs, maybe 3 paragraphs. Those 2 or 3 paragraphs, you'll split up into about 4 to 6 paragraphs, which are a lot smaller, a lot shorter. It's just a lot easier to read that way, right? 2 sentences per paragraph, no more than that. It's just light, it's breezy. If you want to know kind of a good style, read those magazines, like especially the trashy ones that you would never want to be caught reading, because they have this very light, breezy style that's easy to read, right? Rule number 2 is change the themes. We've got about, there's dozens and dozens of different themes. You could send a story about someone else's success. You can send a testimonial or a list of testimonials people have had. You can send a fascinating fact about hypnosis, a fascinating fact about people who've used hypnosis. You can send a fascinating fact about the problem that they've subscribed for. If it's weight loss, you can send them an interesting idea about weight loss. If it's pain control, you can send them an interesting article about pain control and so on, right? If something happens in the news media, copy it, get a link to it. You maybe just send a link to them and say, hey, this is a great article you might be interested in. Or give them a praise. You say, oh, by the way, did you know this just happened? You can read all about it here. Hope you have a nice day. You see where we're going with this, right? These are, as what Joe would call, all these examples are examples of value emails. You're offering them something. You give them something that they will be interested in. And your job is to keep changing that up as much as possible so they can never predict what's coming next. If they can ever predict what's in an email, they will not open it. Does that make sense? By the way, all these rules can be broken. We've written long emails sometimes, and mostly they're short, but sometimes they're very long. So I'm just giving you rules of thumb here. So do you understand the idea of a value-based email? Yes? Then you have a classic offer email, which makes no bones about it. Here's something really cool for you. Here's why it's cool for you. Click here if you want it. Or click here if you want to find out more, and that'll take them to the sales page, and then they get more. It's a classic offer, very simple, very direct. And you want to have both. And I think your proportion was 3 to 1, is that right?
I do at least three or 4 to 1.
Yep, and I think that's a very good ratio here, right? 3 of these to 1 of these.
Too much of this, and people will get mad at you for this.
Yep.
And too much of this, and people will unsubscribe.
Yep. Do you understand that? It's a delicate balance, right? You give too much stuff away. just if you give too much stuff away for free.
Too much value, they'll get mad at you when you try to offer them something, and too much offering, and they'll just instantly unsubscribe because it's too soon. You haven't given enough value.
Does it make sense? Was it a quick question or? There you go. There's one other type of email which I like because it's kind of sneaky, and this one is would you like to know it? Because it's sneaky, and we are conversational hypnotists, a little covert. We like sneaky, don't we? This is the one that combines both. It's kind of a soft sell, a sneaky little thing. It was basically you're primarily giving value, a nice little story that makes them feel good and pumps the emotions up and so on. And at the end of the story, it's a real soft sell. It's the idea of like, and by the way, if you want to feel as good as this, click here and you'll find out more. It's a real soft, understated sort of thing, right? So it's primarily about value, and that you attach onto the end of it a little offer, which they go, maybe, maybe not, right? So this is only value, no offer. This is only offer, and of course, talking about the offer so they get excited enough about it to want to find out more. And this is both combined, primarily value with a soft option to get a little bit more of for an offer. And you can pepper these in much more throughout. So then you have, I think we'll probably end up doing something like a nice little scoreboard here, right? So 3 value emails to every offer email, and you can throw in 2 hidden offers, 2 of these soft offers along the ways as well to kind of mix things up a bit, right? Now, does this give you an idea of how easily, I mean, think about this. Here you already have 6 emails. You almost hit your 7 email margin already, haven't you? Right? And you only really asked for something once, properly, and a few times you pepper something else in for other things. So you pop up a few more of these things, and a few more of these things, and a few more of these things. Maybe you double up on this. You have a full campaign ready and waiting for you. Isn't that something? We'll talk a little bit about copywriting later on in terms of how to make stories interesting and so on. For the moment, know that in your resource pack, we have prepared for you one of these campaigns already, right? Now, it is not so that you can just copy it all and just send it off. I strongly recommend you don't do that, because then you'll be no different to everyone else here and everyone else who gets the copy of that. What it's there for is for you to study and see the different types of emails we've created, so you can see how they're built up, and you can take the style and move it for your content. Because I believe we've done it in the range for weight loss, specifically mothers who've just given birth and want to lose the excess weight. I think that's what we end up using. I can't remember now. It's been a while since we created those. But anyway, it's a good campaign. It's a solid campaign. And if you just take the ideas from it, you can kind of follow the format, the structure, put your own content for whatever else you're doing, and you have a perfect template for creating an infinite amount of these campaigns. So it's already there for you to follow up. You have to do a little bit of the work to kind of get used to that, though. I'll come to you in a minute. Does all this make sense to you guys? Is this simple? Do you understand the absolute crucial importance of mixing up the content of what's actually in here? Both the content in terms of the value. These 3 value emails will not all be the same. There'll be difference. It'll be big stories, short stories. It'll be an interesting fact. It might be something completely different, a news article. This will be an offer. The important part of the offer you emphasize each time will be a little different. And this will be a little bit of both. Again, each time being different, right? It's different that's important to make them want to open those emails. Now, you had a question over here, was that right?
Sort of answered it. So you'll use the same offer 2 or 3 times in the campaign, but you'll phrase it differently.
So the question is, you can use the same offer in the campaign 2 or 3 times and use it differently. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You'll always use it differently if it's the same offer. Sometimes you'll change the offer slightly, and by that I don't mean you change the price or anything like that, but you emphasize different aspects of it. Let's say we're offering the conversational hypnotherapy program, right? So the first one we might talk about how you can help your family, right? And another one we might talk about, by the way, the same skill will help you in your business, right? And click here if you want more. And another one we might offer them saying, to be imagine what it would be like to be an actually paid hypnotherapist, to live life on your own terms and so on. So those are 3 different messages for the same idea, the same product, right? And sometimes we'll actually have the same message phrased slightly differently each time, so they get to look at the same idea in a different way. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense too. So again, these are rules of thumb. Play with it, experiment with it. I do not want to get too complicated or give you too many hard and fast rules, because then you'll sit there and be inhibited about doing anything. And you are better than doing something than nothing at all, 100% guaranteed. So as a simple idea, does this all make sense? Yes? And do you understand how this now plugs into this to give you a really simple and effective automatic system for building relationships so that when you do make an offer, they're much more likely to go for it? Yes? Everyone happy with that? So I think you deserve a break at this point. We're going to have 2 breaks right now, in fact. Would you like that? The first break you're going to have involves you putting your pens and papers down for a moment and finding somewhere comfortable for you to rest. If you were to place your attention somewhere, I'd recommend it was inside you, in a place of comfort. And I think you'd find that with your eyes closed, this whole experience would be even more enjoyable. Because you've learned a lot once again today. And as we've promised you, there are times when some frustration, some overload came in and evaporated again. But you've learned a lot. Yet the interesting thing is that over a lifetime, you have learned infinitely more.
And you know
that you can do this
inside
automatically.
Everything that you are.
Because you have a system inside you.
Can be so much more.
Designed to learn things.
Out there.
You cannot not learn something.
In the world.
You cannot stop acquiring information.
And we've begun today.
So you might as well acquire something of value.
To lay the foundation.
So you could really use this.
Here.
In your own businesses, in your own lives.
There.
What's it like when you build a relationship with a real friend?
That's right.
What's it feel like to know you've connected with another person? Doesn't that feel good? Whenever you write an email to anyone, especially a potential client,
what does that feel like?
You need to have this feeling.
To make that connection.
So that the words you use
to be valued
automatically express
for what you have to offer.
The fact that you value them.
And aside from all that,
you learned so many things today.
Haven't you?
Johnny built a hut. Johnny went through the marshes. Johnny watched the villagers and got to know them as people, as individuals.
That's right.
With hopes and dreams. And that's when the big idea came. Found the farmers' markets. You learned how to talk to those owners, did you not?
Where will you go?
Make them an offer. Solve a problem for them. As a result, you got to talk in front of everyone. And they got excited. Did they not? Instant induction. A phobia cure. A group trance, much like you're experiencing right now.
That's right.
Now you're enjoying this experience?
And as you go deeper inside,
why would not your potential clients enjoy it every bit as much to have an experience?
Find that value you have.
And enjoy it. So when they come back out of their trance at some point,
that relationship
is already beginning.
Inside.
You are mastering something. of fundamental importance. And who wouldn't trade an email for something that makes them feel this good? Which is when you get to build a relationship, a genuine give and take with that potential client.
And you remembered times when you've persevered.
How good will they feel
through things you didn't know?
When they hear back from the hypnotist who made them
Quite.
feel this good.
Quite yet.
That's right. Oh my God. He or she's writing again. What have they got to say this time?
I wonder what it will be.
That's so cool. I didn't know that.
What's going to come next?
There's another one. What have they got this time?
Where are they going to go?
Oh my God, I didn't know they could do that.
What do they have to offer?
Maybe they can help me.
Maybe they can.
Click here? Of course I will. Because now they know you, trust you, feel connected to you. And it's easy when you have a simple system behind you, is it not?
Yes.
So with that idea, whenever you're ready, you can put all those thoughts away because that's part of what your unconscious needs to do, isn't it? What you really need to do now is have a break. You've had one to pray for the other, haven't you? So now it is, let's have a look at the time. It's now 5:45. So here's what we'll do. This is the end of the formal part of the training for today. Let's take a nice 20-minute break. Is that okay with you guys? Stretch your legs out, go outside, a little get of sunshine before it goes away and stuff like that.